There's another issue that many of you probably knew about, and that is that the federal government, a bureaucratic arm of the federal government, came into Western New York in the last several months. And the federal bureaucracy that I'm talking about is a Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA. And what they basically did is they went to all our communities here in Western New York and said, guess what? We're going to change the flood mapping of your area, and we're going to require families living in some of these areas to be put into the floodplain on the new mapping and then get stuck, frankly, paying thousands and thousands of dollars in flood insurance to the federal government for a product they don't need and they'll never be able to collect on unless there's a national emergency, a flood emergency, that would probably have to raise the water level by 2 feet compared to where it would be naturally, have foundation damage, and have a national disaster proclaimed, a state disaster, and a local disaster proclaimed by the leaders of the government. And then, maybe then, you would be able to collect. Now, I understand that FEMA does have a purpose. We need a federal agency to respond to emergencies like down south when there's a hurricane like Katrina or other disasters like that. People need assistance, they need help. But that same federal agency does not have the inherent right, especially as a non-elected bureaucratic government agency, they do not have the right to come into Western New York, an already depressed area that pays the highest taxes, that pays the highest gasoline prices, the highest home heating prices, and come in and try and pick our pockets for yet even more money that equates to about anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 per average home that's being shoved into the floodplain unnecessarily over the course of 20 or 25 years. You will see in Wheatfield that there are signs similar to this. I brought this sign. This was from the Wheatfield United organization. There it is. Turn it this way. But this sign will be appearing on many front lawns in the town of Wheatfield, and there is an independent volunteer citizens group that formed an organization to work with fellow residents and also work with us, the local government, in fighting and challenging FEMA on these floodplains. Since we began fighting FEMA back in September and October of 2008, from the original 920 homes that FEMA was planning on putting into the floodplain unnecessarily, the town of Wheatfield, through its efforts and through its modeling, has been able to rescue about 600 of those families to get them out of the new floodplain maps and protect them from the unnecessary burden of these added costs. But our work is not done. We need Wheatfield United, and we need the members of Wheatfield United, and we need all of you, the residents of Wheatfield, to stand with each other and stand with us, your local government, to fight and to continue to fight and challenge FEMA on these unnecessary costs. The federal government and the state government have picked our pockets long enough. It's time to stand up and say we aren't going to take it anymore, and we must remind the federal and state and even the local governments that we put the government there and we are going to be in charge. It's time to stick together. Now, I know FEMA's not happy with me or the town of Wheatfield. Well, so be it. But I'll tell you this also. FEMA has, at a national level, counted on people being passive. They counted on governments rolling over for them. They counted on Wheatfield being weak. Well, I can tell you, they counted wrong. FEMA has been challenged successfully by us on many of those homes. But again, our fight is not over. So if you would like to participate in working with us to continue to fight the federal government on these unnecessary and huge costs that would negatively impact our families in Wheatfield and Lockport, Pendleton, all throughout Niagara and Erie County, then join WheatfieldUnited.us. And I will tell you, there will be another meeting on April 18th at our Wheatfield Community Center. I intend on being there as well. and we will continue to update you on what our initiatives are, what we're doing to challenge it, and how we're working hard to make sure that we can relieve all of our residents, all of them, from this unnecessary burden. I would also like to just take this opportunity to thank U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer and our state senator George Maziarz for stepping to the plate and being actively involved in helping all of us, and in particular the residents of the town of Wheatfield, in fighting this unnecessary burden. So I want to say that if you have a question about that, we are expecting that some new floodplain maps will be forthcoming in the next couple weeks, and hopefully those updates will also exclude even more people, but we are not going to quit until our work is done here. So in saying that, I just wanted to get that in. I want to make sure that you know when you see these signs, no FEMA, it's because the town of Wheatfield government and the residents of our town are working together to make sure that our families are protected from these costs. We pay enough already. We need to continue to cut taxes whenever we can and require other government agencies to do the same.